George and Lenny are on their way to a new job on a ranch. They got kicked out of their last ranch because of Lenny, although it's unclear why. Lenny has a mental disability and he has a bad memory. Lenny has a dead mouse in his pocket which he keeps so he can stroke it. It is apparently Lenny's obsession with petting living mice and then killing them, as he cannot control his strength. George says he regrets having to carry Lenny everywhere with him, because his life would be easier if he was on his own. Lenny apparently had a thing with a girl. Lenny wanted to touch the girl's dress because he likes to touch anything soft. The girl mistook it for assault and the two men had to run away from the ranch. George remarks that they are luckier than other ranchers because they are not alone, but two so they can look after each other. Their goal is to raise enough money to buy a small farm to raise animals and especially rabbits that Lenny seems to love. If he gets into trouble again, George tells his friend to come back to that same place and hide there. They go to the ranch the next day. There they meet the workers, the boss, Curly, the boss's son and his newly married wife. Slim's dog just had puppies. Carlson told Candy that we should better kill his old dog, because the dog stinks and is sick. He suggests that Candy take one of the puppies instead. Candy has arguments to save his dog, then little by little he ends up saying yes. Carlson goes outside with the old dog to give him a shot. George talks about his plans for the future with Lenny. Candy wants to donate his savings to help buy a small farm and move in with them. Candy told them that he should have killed his dog himself and not let someone else do it for him. Curly is upset because he is looking everywhere for his wife and is afraid that she is gone with Slim. He gets angry with Lenny and starts to fight with him. Under George's order, Lenny defends himself by crushing his hand. Slim offers to keep Curly quiet. If he doesn't say anything, no one will report him. Lenny goes to see Crooks, the dark-skinned groom, who lives in a stable. Crooks tells him about his childhood memories. He says he feels lonely, rejected by others. He tells Lenny that he is lucky to have George with him and shows him what a miserable life he would have without his friend. Crooks doubts his dreams of owning land and rabbits. Candy comes to join them. The woman comes to join the three men. She complains about her life with her husband who bores her because he only thinks of fighting with others. She would have dreamed of another life. On Sunday, Lenny is at the barn. He killed his puppy while wanting to play with him. The woman arrives and speaks to him. She tells him about her dreams as a movie star and theater actress. Lenny tells her he likes to touch things that are soft. The woman makes him touch her hair, but Lenny touches it too hard. The woman begins to hurt, she tries to struggle and screams. Lenny, distraught, clings to her hair even more. To silence her, he puts his hand in front of her mouth. He breaks her neck. Lenny is leaving. Candy finds the woman's body and calls George. When the others find the body, they want to kill Lenny with their guns. George decides not to let them hurt Lenny. Lenny went where George told him to go if something went wrong. George finds him there. He reassures Lenny and confirms his dreams. Once his back is turned, George shoots him a gun. The story goes quickly. In 3 days, from Thursday night when Lenny and George sleep in the woods to Sunday, which is horseshoe game day. The story takes place in 4 places. The place towards the lake at the beginning and at the end of the novel. The men's barracks. The house. The stable. George is shorter than his friend Lenny, but he's the smartest. He's the brains of this duo. Lenny, meanwhile, is more of the body of this tandem. George is a man who sometimes understands Lenny, who gives good advice to his friend. But who can get angry? And who can blame his friend? George creates dreams for his friend to make him feel good. In the end, he'll believe them himself. He begins to think about the farm he wants to buy, the money to be spent, and the technical details. At the end of the novel, after Lenny's murder, George will notice that everything is gone, that he was wrong himself. All the characters in the novel are unhappy. George would like a life without the problems Lenny caused. Curly's wife is bored on the farm and wants a celebrity life. Curly is a strong man physically, but still gets dominated by a lot of people. Candy sees his dog die. Crooks feels lonely because he is set apart from others. Finally, the only happy character in the novel is Lenny. He only lives on dreams. Their evocations by George alone make him happy. However, achieving the character's aspirations is easy. George would just have to go and let Lenny down. It would be enough for the wife to let down her husband. It was enough for Candy to have said no so that his dog was not dead. It would be enough for Crooks to leave this farm and join his family. These are easy things, but none of them do. Already, as we have just seen, the characters are unhappy, because they do nothing to realize their dreams, but they are also unhappy, because they are alone although accompanied. They are not able to forge links between them. The characters are still on their own, despite being together. The woman is bored with her man. So she goes to the other men, but they don't want her for fear of getting into trouble. George and Lenny were far from it all. They were together. They looked after each other, they were never alone. By killing his friend, George finds himself all alone. We imagine a future for George the same as for everyone else. We don't say that in the book, but it's a safe bet that he will quickly feel the pernicious effects of being alone, having just lost his only friend. George's gesture can be seen as a negative act, because what differentiated him from others no longer exists, he will be alone. However, this act can also be seen as a heroic act. When Candy gets his dog killed, he regrets not having done it himself. Here, George killed his friend himself, he didn't let strangers do the work for him. Lenny, like any character in this novel, is difficult to classify in the box of good or in the box of evil. It has negative points, which can also be seen as positive points. Lenny is mentally inferior. But he is able to see some things that others do not always see. He is able to see the happiness of being with George. He knows that this farm will bring him bad luck. Lenny never protects the people he loves. He does not protect George. He does not protect the puppy or the mice it kills. But Lenny is innocent in the sense that he doesn't realize what's wrong or right. Lenny only wants his immediate satisfaction. To touch the sweet things, even if he kills mice, even if he kills the puppy. Even though a character tells him that he shouldn't separate the puppy too much from his mother, Lenny can't. But he likes the simple things like being with George or touching soft things like the coats of animals or scraps of cloth. Men want a place where they could not be evicted, hence the purchase of the farm. Bonds between them. Having friends, much more than having women. Forge a future, for example by saving. Be in control of their own destinies. Not having to obey someone else, work for themselves, see the results of their work, not be exploited, work suitable hours. The importance of dreams runs through this novel. George often reminds Lenny of them. Lenny often asks George to remind him of them, because coming out of his friend's mouth, these stories make him dream even more. This story has already been told by George several times, so that the formulation of their dreams becomes a ritual. It gives meaning to their present, accumulate enough money and be together to fulfill their dream, but also meaning to their future, the happiness of fulfilling their dream. Most people seek to get closer to each other. Thus, Curly's wife often comes to see the men. Lenny goes to see Crooks. Candy goes to see Crooks. George follows the others when they go to town. However, there are barriers between them. Curly's wife is often rejected because she is seen as dangerous. Others don't want to have problems with her. She is also the only woman on the ranch. The others are just men. Crooks occupies part of the stable, he is not in the same barracks as the others. The others can come and squat his place, but he is not allowed to come to their place. Candy is old and he is disabled with one hand. He is afraid that at one point or another he will be fired because of this. The characters in this novel have wishes, but there is always something to stop them from making them come true. Lenny wants to be a good person, not a bad person. But this is not possible, because he has a mental handicap which prevents him from understanding situations and reacting normally. George wants to protect his friend by telling him how to react to certain situations. But he can't foresee everything, nor can he always be by Lenny's side around the clock. Men want to forge their own destiny by saving money. But they are always subject to temptations, drinking, going to see women. There is also this difficulty of saving on the little salary they are given. Finally, men have dreams, but they are inaccessible to them. They want to escape their daily life which is not tolerable to them, but it always catches up with them. On the one hand, we have the men. They are obliged to live from their work. They are alienated from it. The bosses are not happy either. On the other side, women are of two types. Curly's wife, prostitutes. There is either a woman to shun, or there are women who must be paid to have relations with them. All the characters have something extra. Lenny is too strong. George is too small. Curly is more dominant. Candy is too old. Carlson is too selfish. The woman is too tempting. Slim is too understanding. The most important issues in this book are discrimination against the disabled, both physical and mental, and against the elderly. Racism and sexism. We have a world where everyone is violent. George shoots Lenny. There is when Curly tries to hit Lenny. There is when Lenny crushes Curly's hand. There is when Carlson shoots the dog. There is ostracism towards people of color. We can make sense of the title of the novel. 1. A parallel can be drawn between Lenny and mice. Mice are physically weak. They are small, by the way, just like Lenny's last name, which is Small. Mice are vulnerable, just as Lenny is vulnerable due to his psychic disability. Being small leads to disappearance and death. 2. In Robert Burns' poem, the author refers to the fact that mice are unaware of their past and future, just like Lenny. 3. This poem also refers to the fact that although humans and animals look different, some think and some don't, they are all destined to die. 4. Mice are unable to think about their past or their future. They are like Lenny, who remembers nothing and are unable to project themselves into the future. Lenny would be a mouse and George a man. Lenny is not in pain because he does not remember anything. George, on the contrary, remembers and has hopes that may hurt him. 5. Lenny is always drawn to sweet things, but he ends up killing mice. It is the victory of the strong over the weak. 6. Mice can refer to females. In the novel, they are looked down upon and downgraded to the rank of animals because they are not given thoughts. Lenny kills animals like mice or puppies, and he will similarly kill women by not wanting to hurt her, only wanting to touch what is soft. 7. Plans to link two different worlds as they exist, but they are all doomed to failure. This non-realization makes people miserable. 8. There are two worlds, that of men and that of animals, but ultimately, these two worlds are not that far away. They both know the misfortune. Lenny killed the mice unintentionally. George will kill his friend, unintentionally too. There are no criminal intentions in their designs.